Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about Cohesity. We're going to do a high-level sales overview of kind of what Cohesity is doing and how you can win in the marketplace. To understand us first is to understand our CEO and kind of how we were founded. We were founded by Mohit Aaron in 2013. The importance of him is he was the lead engineer in his early days at Google and helped write the original Google file system, him and his team. He'll tell you he gets too much credit for that. He had a great team to do that. But following that, he was also the CTO and co-founder at Nutanix. And he's actually credited for creating the hyperconverged technology that runs on Nutanix, and we all know how well they're doing in the market. Well, at Nutanix, he saw an opportunity to actually redefine what we're now calling secondary storage and put another hyperconverged platform similar to what Nutanix did run the secondary side of the data center. And we'll kind of talk about what that means in a few minutes. We're backed by some of the largest VCs in the industry. If you think about Sequoia, they're kind of a can't-miss venture capital that has invested in us in more than one round already. And our round C was really significant because we had not only Cisco invest in us, but also HPE. You never find two companies like that always investing in the same company in the same round. That really speaks to what we're doing in the market and what they saw in us. We have an experienced team, many folks from the likes of Nutanix and Google and VMware, EMC, NetApp, Nimble, so storage companies that have done this before are now running our company, which are really great. And you can see on the screen a subset of some of the customers that are adopting us early on in the market. So we're just over 2 years out of GA. We're over 250 customers now, and many of those are enterprise type customers that you see up here. So let's kind of get into and talk about what Cohesity is and what we are not and what we're solving. So when you look at the iceberg, that represents the data center. The top portion of that iceberg is primary storage, right? That's your mission critical, strict SLA type of applications that can't fail. That's where Nutanix is, that's where Pure is, that's where most of the EMC stuff is playing today. Cohesity is not focused on primary storage, right? We are focused on the rest of the data center. So primary storage typically is about 20% of the overall data in a data center. Well, the rest of the data resides in these secondary silos that are your data backups, they are your target storage, they're your secondary type file shares like archive and unstructured data, it's analytics, it's test and development, and also you have to talk about cloud. Today, these are all siloed in the data center. It's different infrastructure, different software, different management systems, different people all working to solve this problem. So Cohesity is going to come in and try to bring all that together on a single platform, and we'll kind of talk about and go through what that looks like. Questions so far?
No, I'm loving it.
Excellent. So again, let's kind of look at just a subset of secondary storage, and that's data protection, right? So if you take the iceberg and now turn it into the data center, what you see up here is on the top you have your primary storage, right? You have your virtual environments, which 80 to 90% of the market today is still VMware. You have your physical servers. You may still have some physical Windows, Linux, Exchange, things like that still running on in the data center. You have all your databases, and most customers probably have some sort of HCI or all-flash array also running in primary storage. Well, from there you have to protect that data. And in the legacy world, this is what data protection looks like today, right? You've got your media servers, right? That's number one, with your data protection software installed on top of the media server. So you're already talking about two products, two management interfaces. Then you've got your master servers that are kind of doing all the mapping of that data, all the indexing of that data as it comes into the environment. So there's another point solution that we're introducing. Well, from there, 15 years ago, there was this great thing called the dedupe appliance that was introduced to the market. It was revolutionary back then. So what happens is you take that data, then you put it onto your dedupe appliances. Well, the problem with this environment is that as your data grows, you have to add more dedupe appliances, you have to add more media servers, you have to add more master servers. So you can see how the infrastructure really starts to grow out of control, right? And because this is a 15-year-old technology, it wasn't built for the cloud. So you also have to introduce a cloud gateway. So when you look at silos and secondary storage and just data protection, you're already talking about tape library 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different management interfaces that customers have to use with 5 different infrastructures. It's fragmented, it's siloed, and it creates a lot of dark data within the environment. okay? Let's take a look real quickly at how Cohesity is going to solve just this data protection portion. So we're going to come in a hyper-converged software-defined platform, and we're going to consolidate all of that into a single appliance. So within Cohesity, you have your data protection software, you've got your dedupe appliance, you've got your media master servers, you've got your hard drives, your SSDs, your flash, and it's all software defined. So we can consolidate all that into a single platform and get rid of all of the mess and complexity that you saw on the screen earlier. So it's really simple. It's a converged data protection appliance that's built for the cloud era, so no more cloud gateway. We're built to be able to go to any cloud, which we'll talk about later. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Now the cool part about this is it's infinite growth. And what I mean by that is once we get installed into an environment, you start with a 4-node cluster, so 4 single servers inside a 2U appliance. You can simply, at that point, grow out single nodes at a time and linearly grow your environment. So true web scale architecture. So instead of adding big dedupe appliances, more servers, more this, you just simply add nodes along the way, one at a time after the initial install. So it's true web scale architecture. And everything managed again on a single pane of glass, right? Everything that we're talking about. So now instead of 5 different user interfaces, you have one for a customer to deal with. So we really have simplified their environment. Make sense?
Yep.
Excellent. And everything is non-disruptive, right? Non-disruptive expansion, non-disruptive software upgrades and things of that nature. So the system truly never goes down. You never have to take it down. Now, because we're great at data protection, we do a few other things. And I just want you to understand that where you're gonna win today is this slide right here. You're gonna win your customers at the data protection level. And then you're gonna go into those customers later and say, hey, because you have Cohesity, you can do a few other things. Secondary storage also consists of test dev, analytics, file and object. In the past, you had to take the data from that dedupe appliance that I showed you earlier, and you have to move the data to your file system, to your object storage. So you're actually migrating data, which is expensive and costly and takes a lot of time. If you need to run analytics on your data, again, you have to spin up more copies of that data, move it over to somewhere else. Test and dev environment, again, is the same exact thing. Takes a long time. And in all these different silos, on average, customers have between 6 to 10 copies in each of these silos of their production data that they've backed up. So you can see how these copies of data grow and sprawl in the data center, right? So what we can do is then leverage the data where it sits today to run other type of platforms on Cohesity, and that's where the true hyperconverged secondary storage comes into play. Hey, because we're doing your backups, we can start to do all these other things over time. And they can leverage the platform for more things than just the data protection over time. Make sense?
Yep.
Real quickly, we'll talk about cloud. So we are built for the cloud era, and we do it in 3 simple ways. Cloud archive, think of it as long-term retention, tape replacement, right? Any of the major cloud players or anything S3 or NFS compliant, because we're multi-protocol. We speak 3 storage languages, NFS, SMB, and S3. The second one is cloud tier. Think of this as overdraft protection for your checking account, but for your data center. So, hey, you bought Cohesity, you're getting full, you don't have time to add new nodes right now because the purchase process might take 3 months. No problem. We'll start tiering off the coldest blocks of data to bring down the threshold on the appliance until you have time to add new nodes. Real simple. And all this is done through the UI, no touch. Lastly is cloud replicate, or actually running us on a cloud VM. So think DR, think test dev in the cloud, think analytics in the cloud. Anything you can do on-prem with Cohesity, you can do in the cloud. And we're live with Azure, we're live with Amazon today, and Google will be next. So true, full cloud flexibility that Cohesity is built from day one to handle. Make sense?
Yep.
We're gonna wrap this up here. So when you look at Cohesity from the data protection piece of the business today, look at the broad range of targets, broad range of use cases that we can support in the marketplace. We are a true first-class, world's best data protection company. And one thing on this slide that makes us unique You see the other data protection companies here? Well, we can also be a target for those guys, right? So let's say we take over their virtual environments to start, no problem. You still have one of these old guys left, you can simply write that data to Cohesity instead of having two separate silos of storage pools. That separates us from any other data protection company in the market. Nobody does that. So in closing, again, you saw how we're going to simplify data protection. And then once we simplify data protection, we're going to take the customer on a journey to consolidate the rest of their secondary storage over time. So from a high level, that's what Cohesity is doing in the market today.
Great, thank you. Perfect.